all, welcome to Team SNG deck profile. Today guys, we're going to be doing a Thunder Dragon deck profile. While I've got your attention, I'd like to ask you guys to leave us a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't checked out the team's Facebook page, the link to it's down in the description below. Head on over there because we got some exciting stuff coming out in the next few weeks over there. What I like about this deck, guys, is that it lets us run several different kinds of extenders. The Thunder Dragon monsters give us the ability to gain hand advantage and put bodies on board, along with some of the other engines that we run in the deck. With that being said, let's just get into it. Starting off with our monsters, the first monster we run is our generic Thunder Dragon. We run 3 copies of this. Basically, pitch it, search it, pitch it, search it. It's not once per turn. You can just keep on gaining hand advantage, setting up your graveyard all in one go. So this is a really useful card for us to have, obviously. Next we run 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Dark. Now all of the newer Thunder Dragon support has a one effect per turn clause. Now they all have 2 effects. You can discard them to effect, and then one when they're banished or when they leave the field to the grave. So Thunder Dragon Dark's discard effect is a quick effect. You can discard him, search out another Thunder Dragon Dark. His leaving the field or banish effect is search any Thunder Dragon card from the deck to the hand. So this is basically one of our ways that lets us fix our hand, but it also can be used on our opponent's turn to be discarded as a quick effect, which partners really well with our boss monster. Next we run 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Roar. Thunder Dragon Roar can be discarded to add back a Thunder Dragon monster in the grave or banished to our hand. And he can be, if he's banished, then you get to special summon a Thunder Dragon in defense position from the deck. So he can help us by putting a body on board, which we can then use as link material, or he can help us by adding something that's maybe gone to the grave or been banished by another effect that we need back in our hand. Next we run 2 copies of Thunder Dragon Hawk. Thunder Dragon Hawk, when discarded, lets us special summon a banished or a graveyard present Thunder Dragon to the field, or it can be banished or sent from the field to the grave to let us basically fix our hand by magical malleting it. So we get to shuffle back a certain amount of cards and then draw cards equal to how many we shuffled back. So this can help us fix our hand. Next we run 2 copies of Thunder Dragon Matrix. Thunder Dragon Matrix, also known as the Egg, can quick effect be discarded to give one of our Thunder monsters 500 additional attack points. Or if it leaves the field and goes to the grave or it is banished, then we can add another copy of it from the deck to our hand. And the final Thunder Dragon we run is Thunder Dragon Duo. Now Thunder Dragon Duo's got a lot of different effects, but basically he's a chaos monster, so you banish a dark and a light from the grave to special summon him, and they don't need to be thunder monsters or anything like that. He's got no limitations on what he sends. So you banish 2 things from the grave, 1 dark, 1 light, and that will special summon Thunder Dragon Duo. Also, if a card activates its effect in your hand while he is on the field, he gains 300 attack points till the end of the turn. Also, if you manage to destroy an opponent's monster by battle, you get to banish a card from your graveyard and add a Thunder monster from the deck to the hand. So he helps you fix your hand again, but he also could get some of the Thunder Dragon monster's effects that are in grave off by banishing them. On top of all of that, he can take something that is banished and place it back on top of your deck during your opponent's end phase. So he helps you recycle, he helps you banish and trigger effects. He's just a generically really useful card, but we don't really need to see him in our opening hand. We can search him in plenty of different ways, and at the end of the day, he's really not the win condition for the deck. So he's very useful, but not necessary to have. That does it for the Thunder Dragons. Next we're going to talk about our play starters. The first play starter we run is probably one of the best, which is a Lupine. You basically banish a Thunder monster from your hand and banish a Thunder monster from the deck. So this will give you 2 of your banish effects straight off the bat if you manage to normal summon this. Next we have 3 copies of Battery Man Solar. Now I always had a hard time figuring out how Battery Man Solar really worked with this deck, Basically, when he's normal summoned, he gets to foolish a Thunder Dragon monster, or a Thunder monster, from the deck to the grave. However, what I tended to find the problem is I couldn't figure out how I then utilized that Thunder monster, and I realized the way you utilize it is by using something like Thunder Dragon Roar or Thunder Dragon Hawk to bring them back to your hand. He also has a secondary effect which can come useful in times, which is if a Thunder monster is special summoned while he's on the field, he produces a token, which could then be used to link climb or other things that this deck can do. Next, to give ourselves some additional extenders, we have one Black Dragon Color Serpent and one White Dragon Wyverbuster. These are just the typical Chaos Dragons. You can only run one copy of each, so that's why we only run one copy of each. Speaking of Chaos, we are running a couple Chaos monsters. The first is a copy of Chaos Valkyria. Now, the reason I like running two copies of Chaos Valkyria is that you can banish a light or dark monster from your graveyard. So if you have Chaos Valkyria in your hand and you have Battery Man Solar, you can banish the Thunder Dragon that you send with Battery Man Solar, gaining that Thunder Dragon's banish effect. Also, it puts a body on board, and on top of that, it also lets you foolish a light or dark monster for later usage. So you can use her to effectively set up your graveyard, but you can also use her as an extender or a way to trigger anything that gets sent off of Battery Man Solar. The next Chaos monster we run is two copies of Chaos Dragon Levianair. Chaos Dragon Levianair's got different effects based on what's banished for him, so you banish 3 monsters from the grave that are light or dark. If it's all light, you get to special summon a monster from your graveyard in defense. If it's all dark, you get to shuffle a random card from your opponent's hand back into their deck. And finally, if it's light and dark, you get to destroy up to 2 cards on the field, which can be really useful in the sense that it does let you start breaking opponents' boards. So it's more of a going second effect than a going first effect. I quite like it as a generic card for the deck to have. You can act as an extender as well if you just want a body on board to link away, although typically you're not really going to want to do that with it. But he is a big 3,000 body that this deck could utilize. Now, we've talked about banishing a lot of stuff. How about recurring some of that banished stuff? Well, Nemesis Corridor allows us to do that. It's a Thunder monster, so we can use it to pitch if we have it in our hand for some of the stuff we run in the extra deck. But the benefit of this, realistically, is that it is just a generic extender that this deck can utilize, and it also helps us recur anything that's been banished by shuffling that into the deck to special summon this, and then we link this off, and that just lets us go into our link plays and do some other shenanigans. Finally, onto the hand traps. The 3 hand traps I run are 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. Now you can replace this with any hand trap that you choose. I like Dimension Shifter for multiple reasons. One of which is it's dark, so it does work with some of the other things that we run in the deck. The other reason I really like this as a play is a lot of decks have a hard time working without their graveyard. This will turn off a lot of decks that your opponent might be trying to play. Finally, a lot of our stuff likes to be banished off. All of our Thunder Dragons, they gain effects when they're banished. So all these different things that we can do really allows us to play Dimension Shifter without risking it to ourselves. The only problem is you have to play 3 copies because if you have anything in your graveyard, you can't use him. That does it for our lineup. On to spells. First spell that we run is 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Fusion. I've seen a lot of decks out there running 2. I can see your argument. The reason I like 3 is that I have a way of utilizing 2 in one turn in this deck, and so having that 3rd copy is just a nice little extra that the deck has. It gives me access to. This card has 2 effects. Basically, shuffle back Banished and Thunder Dragons in the grave to special summon a Thunder Dragon Fusion from the extra deck. The other effect is, if this card is in the grave, other than the turn it was sent to the grave, you can banish this card to search out any Thunder Dragon monster and add it to your hand. So this can basically help us set up turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. It just lets us keep going effectively. Next, we run 1 copy of Gold Sarcophagus, one of the best play starters in the deck. Banish a card from your deck. Okay, you get it back to your hand in 2 turns, but often it's not going to be there. you're going to be shuffling back or you're going to be returning it to your hand with Dragon Roar or whatever. But basically this will let us banish anything from our deck, meaning that we can trigger whatever Thunder Dragon monster we need. Next, Instant Fusion. We run one copy of this. It's limited, that's why. We do run one target in the extra deck for this, and basically, again, it is just a play starter that this deck has access to. Next, we run 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Now, Allure of Darkness is so good in this deck. It basically is a +3. You're typically going to be sending something, banishing something with it that will let you search something out of the deck. So, this is effectively a +3, which is fantastic. The final spell that we run is 2 copies of Left Arm Offering. Now, if you manage to find yourself in a situation where you've just got some Thunder Dragons in the hand, you can activate Left Arm Offering, banishing them all off, which will trigger all their effects. And then you can search out whatever spell you need from the deck. Now, this could be an Allure of Darkness if you're looking for that. This could be an Instant Fusion if that's going to be the play that you're going to go for. It can be a Gold Sarcophagus if you need to banish something else off. Or it can be Thunder Dragon Fusion, which typically, this card with an opening hand filled with Thunder Dragons will let you go straight into your Thunder Dragon Titan in the extra deck. That does it for the spells. Let's talk about the traps. No traps. So, let's talk about the extra deck. In the extra deck, we run our Instant Fusion target in Kaminari Attack. Now, this is a Thunder monster, and that's really important because of the fact that it works really well with Thunder Dragon Titan due to the fact that we can then use Thunder Dragon Titan's effect to banish this and a Thunder monster in our hand to special summon itself. Next is Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. The reason I run this is if you have Thunder Dragon in your hand and a way to get to your Thunder Dragon Fusion, you can discard Thunder Dragon, search Thunder Dragon, discard Thunder Dragon, search Thunder Dragon, activate Thunder Dragon Fusion, produce this by shuffling back the 2 Thunder Dragons in your graveyard, then you could discard Thunder Dragon, add Thunder Dragon, discard Thunder Dragon, add Thunder Dragon, meaning that you've effectively discarded Thunder Dragon 5 times in the turn, all from a single card. And that can be really useful because if you were to, for instance, have Thunder Dragon Titan on the board, he has an effect where if a Thunder monster's effect is activated in hand, destroy something on your opponent's side of the field. Now, that isn't a once per turn, meaning that effectively this combo would let you pop 5 cards off of your opponent's side of the field if you had a Titan already established. The other thing this would do is you could then use this and a Thunder monster in your hand to produce your Thunder Dragon Titan. So, this is a 2-fold attack. Turn 3, this will let you wipe out an opponent's board. Turn 2, this will let you wipe out an opponent's board. But theoretically, this is actually being used to climb into the Thunder Dragon Titan, at which point you can then discard your Thunder Dragons that you have to pop multiple things. Next, I run 3 copies of the aforementioned Thunder Dragon Titan. I run 3. There are ways to shuffle him back, so you could argue that you can run 2. The reason I run 3 is it's not hard for me to get 2 on the board in one go. His effects that we've mentioned, his pop effect, isn't once per turn, so if you have 2 on the board, you can trigger it twice by a single discard, which can be really good. His special summon effect isn't once per turn either, where you use a Thunder monster on the field, a Thunder Fusion on the field, and a Thunder monster in the hand. You banish both of those to produce this. However, that is a special summon and not a fusion summon, so you can't bring him back from the grave if you do create him that way. And he also does have a protection effect, which is if he's destroyed, you can banish 2 cards from the graveyard to keep him on the field. So that is kind of another reason that dimension shifting can be useful, is Thunder Dragon Titan could have potentially cleared your entire graveyard, opening Dimensional Shifter out as a later game option for you as well. That does it for the fusion monsters. Now on to the link monsters. The first link monster I run is Gravity Controller. This is basically just an out to some of the things that can sometimes give this deck trouble. This is an out for Avermax, it's an out for basically anything that it has destruction protection. All you need to produce this is a non-link monster that is in the extra monster zone. So you just need to create a Titan in the extra monster zone, or you need to create a twin-headed Thunder Dragon in the extra monster zone. Any of your fusion monsters, you put them in the extra monster zone, link them off, produce gravity controller, attack into whatever it is that you're worried about or that you're having a hard time with, and then you spin that and this back to the deck. So that lets you get rid of something that maybe could give you some trouble. We run several different Link 2s in this deck, the first of which is Summer Summoner. Once per turn, as a quick effect, you can discard a card to special summon a Thunder monster from the graveyard. So this is a really useful card because it does let us recur stuff from our grave. Next Link 2 that we run is Union Carrier. We run lots of Thunder types, we run lots of Darks, we run lots of Lights, so we're typically going to be able to summon this. When we summon this, we can then search out any Thunder Dragon card we need, because all their effects are when this card is sent from field to grave, so it doesn't matter if it's not as a monster. The other thing is that we could use this to get into our white and black dragons. So we can search out a white dragon and then link this off to go into a Link 3. You know, equip the white dragon to this, link this and the white dragon off. Then we can search the black dragon and then banish this and special summon the black dragon, and so on and so on and so on. And that sort of lets us get into some of our big extensions that this deck can really do for us. The next Link 2 we run is Protoplant Verte Anaconda. Now this is just basically a way that we consistently can see Thunder Dragon Fusion. Now that we don't have Thunder Dragon Colossus, we are really dependent on Thunder Dragon Fusion to get our combos off. And so this will let us see Thunder Dragon Fusion. Also, because of the way that this works, you can use Thunder Dragon Fusion not once but twice in a turn. If you have Thunder Dragon Fusion in your hand, you use it, then later in the turn you still have 3 monsters in the grave that potentially could be used. You can use this to send Thunder Dragon Fusion, and this will then gain the effect of Thunder Dragon Fusion. And that's not Thunder Dragon Fusion activating its own effect twice, that is this activating it once and Thunder Dragon Fusion activating it once. Meaning that you can effectively use 2 Thunder Dragon Fusions to create yourself 2 Thunder Dragon Titans. Next, we run the Nightmare package. I seem to run this in everything these days. It's really just a generic package that lets us have lots of different monsters of different types on the board. The other benefit is it's just spot removal. So, you know, if we're looking to extend and we don't know how to extend to what we want to extend to, we can use these to sort of just link materials off if we need stuff in grave. Next we run World Gears of Theoretical Domiergy. I've butchered that. I know I've butchered that. You guys tell me how you pronounce this. We're going to call it World Gears just to make life simple. Basically it's 3 level 5 or higher monsters. It is unaffected by monster effects, and that makes it so it's quite a tough thing for your opponent to get rid of. They need to use spells and traps to get rid of this. On top of that, it does gain some additional effects, neither of which really are relevant to us, as we're typically going to be using the same type of monster to make this. It does require, as I say, 3 level 5 or higher, so you are going to be using 3 of your Thunder Dragons. But if you manage to get 3 on the board at any point, you can link all 3 off, and typically you'll trigger some effects doing that. Next we run 1 copy of Boral Sword Dragon, Game Ender. And finally we run 1 Mech Knight Crusader Avermax. I put this in every deck. This is definitely my favorite card in the game, and that's why it's everywhere. But it is just such a good card. It's battle protection for the rest of your field. It gains it basically protects itself from battle as well. And it is untargetable by card effects, meaning your opponent's going to have to get rid of everything else. But they're not necessarily going to be able to get rid of this. So that does it for the extra deck. So my final thoughts on this are that this deck really does have the grind game. Back before Colossus was banned, this would have been a top tier deck. However, with the Colossus ban, the deck's power has definitely been hit. The deck can still compete. It can do lots of really interesting stuff. The way that it plays out of the grave, out of the hand, out of the banish pile so well is really quite interesting. I like how a lot of the stuff recurs itself, But it is a thinking man's deck. You have to be very careful that you don't use the wrong Thunder Dragon effect on each turn, because you can only use one. And so you have to pick and choose what you're going to use every single turn. Thunder Dragon Fusion is probably one of my favorite fusion cards in the game. I love the way that it brings stuff back. It is effectively a recursion spell that turbos out your big boss monsters. And the ability to use it twice with Predator Plant Verte Anaconda is so good. And the fact that it's so searchable with Thunder Dragon Dark and many of the other cards in the deck makes it so that you should always be seeing it, and it should always be readily accessible to you. The other thing I really do like that this deck can utilize is because all the effects are sent from field to grave, Union Carrier can basically allow you to search whatever you need. And this can let you go into your Thunder Dragon fusions with absolutely no trouble. I hope you guys have really enjoyed this. As I said, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Leave us a like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the team's Facebook page, links in the description below. And if you want to see this deck in action, the test hands, which will also be found in the link down below. With that being said, all I can say at this point, guys, is I will see you guys at the next video.